Defence and Space News TV report. The Indian Air Force's next super weapon could be the F-35 or F-18. Let's discuss about that. The competition was meant to acquire a new generation of short-range jets suitable for defending India's borders. The Indian Air Force is gradually retiring its 1950s-era MiG-21 single-engine fighter jets over the next few decades. Indian Defence Ministry changed the mind and may not go for single-engine aircraft like F-16 or Gripen. Exasperation stems from one main factors. The factor is that the single-engine competition had narrowed down to just two choices, the American F-16 and Swedish JAS-39 Gripen. If the government had simply stuck to the original guidelines, the Indian Air Force could have begun receiving 115 new fighters by the early 2020s and retained domestic production facilities to build even more if desired. Although HAL is working on an improved Tejas Mark I/II which may correct some of the aircraft's flaws, production is lagging behind schedule. Bargaining for better? The single-engine requirement was supposedly revised because the Indian Air Force never really wanted to constrain the competition to light fighters in the first place. Instead, the Indian Air Force wanted to procure the rest of the medium fighters the MMRCA project failed to obtain. This may have coincided with recent public furor over the cost per plane of the Rafale, causing the Modi administration to open up the new competition to a wider range of fighter types. Notable new twin-engine contenders now include the American Super Hornet, the Eurofighter Typhoon, the French Rafale, and the Russian Su-35 or MiG-35. The Russian fighters offer good bang for buck on paper, but India has been frustrated by poor after-sales support and frequent breakdowns in much of its Russian hardware, including the MiG-29 and Su-30 jets. Another factor is the Indian Navy, which has to account for 57 naval fighters operating from its current ski jump-style aircraft carriers as well as a planned catapult-equipped flat-top carriers. The aircraft under consideration are the F-A-18E Super Hornet, the Rafale M, a novelized Gripen, and the MiG-29K, all of which have land-based counterparts. If both the Indian Navy and Air Force end up choosing similar aircraft, there could be significant cost savings in terms of spare parts and training. The stealth angle, fourth-generation jets like the F-16 and Super Hornet are highly capable in most regards, but aerial war games have suggested one major limitation: they lose by lopsided margins when pitted against fifth-generation stealth fighters. Stealth fighters also have much better odds of successfully penetrating hostile airspace defended by ground-based surface-to-air missiles. New Delhi has wanted its own stealth fighters for a while, and has invested the equivalent of over $5 billion in Russia's PAK-4 stealth fighter program, now designated as the Su-57, in the hopes of getting an India-specific variant called the FGFA. However, the program has suffered major setbacks and Moscow has downsized its production run to only 12 Su-57s. Indian officials have grown increasingly disenchanted with the Su-57, publicly complaining about underpowered engines, subpar stealth characteristics and a lack of transparency as to what lay behind these problems. Separately, India's Defence Research and Development Organisation has invested significant resource drawing up plans for its own HAL-AMCA stealth fighter, with hopes for a flying prototype in the mid-2020s. As it happens, a Hindustan Times article from March 11, 2018 indicates that the light fighter competition will now be linked to the transfer of technologies necessary for producing the AMCA. This naturally leads to the question, who actually has that stealth technology to share? India is already linked to Russia's Su-57 program but is dissatisfied with the collaboration. The single-engine F-35 has long been the elephant in the room, as it is being exported to US allies at a price of roughly $100 million per airframe. Though the Lightning isn't as fast, maneuverable or heavy lifting as top fourth-generation fighters, its stealth characteristics and advanced sensors and avionics allow it to lob missiles at adversaries from far beyond the range it can be tracked by opposing X-band targeting radars. Furthermore, its avionics are designed to share sensor data with less stealthy friendly fighters, enhancing their effectiveness. India had historically relied on the Soviet Union and then Russia to furnish its military hardware, so spurning the Su-57 program in favor of the F-35 risks cooling that relationship. Indeed, New Delhi has steadfastly maintained it is not seeking to purchase F-35s. However, India is increasingly concerned with China's rapidly growing military capabilities, which include new J-20 stealth fighters and Russian-built Su-35s. This means New Delhi's geopolitical interests are drawing it closer to Washington instead of Moscow, as evidenced by a base-sharing agreement struck in 2016. Indeed, on March 4, 2018, the U.S. Pacific Command's Admiral Harry Harris revealed that New Delhi was making inquiries about purchasing F-35s. Realistically, Indian buy-in to the F-35 would take years to arrange, and the stealth fighter continues to suffer from serious teething issues in U.S. service. Therefore, even if the F-35 is on the table, New Delhi will still likely pursue additional fourth-generation fighters to replenish its shrinking air force. Thanks for watching. Stay with us and do subscribe for future updates.